The very latest of the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. Great to have you along. And, of course, the weather's not great, but windy, rainy as we look outside here at Burke Lakefront Airport. But you're not raining down on this party, not on this parade. Not when we're talking baseball with Boone and coming up in a bit, and the Yanks are in town, so Uncle Arnie's in town. Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Cavaliers got a big one with the Indiana Pacers. If they win, I believe I read if they win tonight, and that won't be easy against the Pacers, but if they beat Indiana and Philadelphia beats Orlando, they obviously clinch a top 5 seed, but they also clinch home court. If they win tonight against Indiana, they automatically get a top 5 seed, but they would get home court advantage if they win and Philly beats Orlando. But first things first, they've got to beat the Indiana Pacers. Just down to the Pacers and the Hornets on Sunday. So a lot going on there as we rev up for the playoffs for the Cavaliers. Guardians off to a great start, as we said. The Masters is here. And Bohm is also here. Bohm, how do you go about, like, you notice how, like, when the news broke yesterday, we're coming to you on a Friday, when the news broke yesterday about O.J. Simpson, like, nobody really knows how to, like, nobody's really sad, whatever. But you have to cover it, and Juice did have a great career, but that's unfortunately for him and many others, that's not his legacy. Not even close to being his legacy. What were your thoughts in seeing that?
Well, I guess I was a little disappointed that we won't be seeing some sort of Naked Gun reboot.
I joked with my buddy, gee, how am I going to get through a fantasy football season without Juice? Like Juice, I didn't even know he had the prostate cancer because Juice, like, every week would be in that golf cart with that visor and be like, well, I'll tell you what, I got Jahmyr Gibbs. I like that matchup today. Be like, Juice, shut up. Nobody cares about what your fantasy football thoughts are. But
Put anyway, a sock in it,
Orenthal. That's some of the best Jim Rome that's when I first started listening to Jim Rome, was when all of that was going on. And I know it was a serious and people lost their lives. But, like, Rome, every time he would just refer to him as, what, Orenthal? Every time there was a 911 call. He'd be like, listen to the 911 operator. She's tired of hearing from, yes, Orenthal. What now? Goodbye, Orenthal. All right. We got, as we said, a lot to talk about when we come back. Bret Boone, the former All-Star second baseman. Injuries galore, including to our own guy, Shane Bieber. And the Yankees in town against the Guards. It's all straight ahead. Coming up next on the Chico Bormann Show, right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome in another edition of the Chico Bormann Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. As promised, oh yeah, we've got plenty to talk about as far as the baseball diamond is concerned. A lot of controversy of late, and to do that, we bring him in every week, and we appreciate him being so generous, Bohm, with his time each and every week. We almost feel like a charity. We appreciate it. He's Bret Boone. He's Bret Boone. He's a 3-time All-Star and a 4-time Gold Glover, number 29 in your programs, but always number 1 in our hearts. Hello, Booney. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
To the listeners out there, this is charity, by the way. It's absolute. It's playing golf with a hack golfer.
Speaking of which, have you ever played Augusta? Now that the Masters,
going to a dance competition, it's charity.
He's not done. Of course, he's not.
All right, go ahead. I'm kidding.
Have you played? I have
Augusta? Not played Augusta.
Okay.
It's the one kind of
bucket type thing.
Course I haven't played. I've been lucky enough to play the majority of the great courses around. I've never been over to the old course.
Yeah.
But as far as in the States, I played pretty much all the big ones I wanted to play. Never played Augusta. Got invited a few times. And now, if I could turn the clock back, I got invited a few times to play my year that I played with the Braves.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And I just, I was, and that's what it was back then. It's like, no, during the season, I don't play golf the day of a game. I've got enough stuff to do. It's tough to put 18 holes in and then play a 9-inning game. So I was pretty, staunch in my ways. Like, no, I don't play golf during the season, maybe on an off day. But then once you start getting into family and stuff, you have an off day. And it's like, now you're going to get grief from the family for your only off day going golfing. So
that's why you stay single.
I didn't end up playing. If I could take it back, I would have made an exception, because now that's kind of,
well, Smoltzy could get you on there. Like
Smoltz, I told you, Smoltz has got more connections in golf than Tiger. But how many of Smoltzy's buddies are going, Smoltzy get me on Augusta, and he's kind of going, if I'm going to get somebody on Augusta, he's going to play it. So I'm sure he has a long list of people that in his orbit that, hey, you got to get me on Augusta. So I don't want to be that guy. I'll get on there. It's just right place, right time.
Well, I will be that guy. So if you have a chance and pay it forward.
I can't tell you how many people have asked me to get them on Augusta. Oh, no problem. Yeah, let me make a phone call now, and you and the other 20 that are trying to have me get you on Augusta, which I don't have any ties to Augusta.
Chipper could probably get you.
I bet you Chipper has an in.
Yeah, he's got it in.
Am I Chipper's only friend?
No, Chipper's probably, but I'm just saying.
I mean, we all have good friends in the game, that we played with and we are close. But I love Chipper to death.
I just finished his book.
Was a teammate for a year with him. But I talk to Chipper maybe once every couple of years. Hey, I need Augusta, Chipper. No problem.
I think that's what he'd say. He'd say it like this.
Anybody calling me up. It's like
Boone.
you have that group of people that are kind of, if you get a chance to go, there's a few people close to you that if you had an opening, you'd throw in.
Yeah, no doubt.
You got to be in that group. All
right. He's Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman, host of the Bret Boone podcast, doing a great job with that. We'll get into that coming up here in a little bit. All right, Booney. And yes,
by the way, speaking of golf,
yes,
we got Brendel Chambly on Monday. We'll be on the Boone podcast.
Never shy about his opinions. That's what makes Brandel's not afraid of a little controversy, which is,
I will be happy to throw in controversial topics. All right, go ahead.
I'd really like to expand that, to be honest with you. We could just go for anyway. No, we won't. But
I love the podcasts that are off the beaten trail for me, which basically outside of baseball. So
one last thing that I'll add.
I love the Masters. I do
Masters.
Too. So I was up at 4:30 this morning watching the app to watch the guys finish yesterday.
Right.
Because it's fun for me. I don't know why it's fun, but I really enjoy it. All right.
It has kind of just with the whole live but it is still the Masters. You're right. It's still Augusta. Okay. So we got Uncle Arnie's Yankees at Progressive Field for a 3-game series beginning tonight. Yanks are playing well. Guards are playing well. We'll get into all of that in just a bit. We've seen, and obviously Uncle Arnie's seen it with Garrett Cole. The Guardians, I sent you, I'm sure it wasn't an obscenity-laced text message about Shane Bieber. I just like how you replied, yikes. That's all you said, yikes, after I sent you the text. I was like, wait a minute, he's pitching well, he's feeling good. And now Bieber needs UCL. And now you got Framber Valdez, and who else is going to be next? So, make no mistake, Booney, there are many factors that go into these pitchers and these injuries beginning to spike. But Tyler Glasnow, now with the Dodgers, and came over in that Rays trade, and is a guy he's been hurt throughout his career. But before we listen to his comments, you and I had this conversation a couple of years ago about the sticky stuff, because this is all in addition to the pitch clock, which the union's going to bring up and they want to look into, and there's a lot to look into here. But one of the other aspects was the sticky stuff, and I remember you saying back then, and it was kind of, joking a little bit, but you said, I never minded that they used, within reason, a little bit of sticky stuff, because I like them to feel like they know where the ball's going. So hopefully I can avoid getting one in my ear hole. But now, because that stuff has been banned, well, I'll tell you what, boom, go ahead and play. This is Tyler Glasnow talking about the injury. Now they can't use the sticky stuff and how that hurts them.
But I 100% believe that contributed to me getting hurt. No doubt, without a doubt. I think it's ridiculous. I have used sticky stuff before. It's ridiculous that it seems like this whole public perception of it's just select few people. Your favorite pitcher probably 50 years ago was using something too. If you felt these balls, how inconsistent they were, you have to use something. So in the past, my substance of choice is sunscreen and rosin. Just nothing egregious, something to where I can get a grip on the ball so it doesn't feel dusty. But 2 starts ago against the Nationals, I went cold turkey, nothing. And before that start, I remember when all this stuff came out, I was talking to people and talking to doctors, and they were like, the thing that maybe MLB doesn't realize, or that players don't realize, is what is the injury, what is the prevention of maybe it'll add to injuries. And in my mind, I was like, that sounds dumb. That sounds like an excuse a player would use to make sure he can use sticky stuff. But I threw to the Nationals with nothing. I don't use sticky stuff I don't use spider tack. I don't need more spin. I have huge hands. I spin the ball fine. I want grip. I did well against the Nationals, probably one of the best starts I had all year. I woke up the next day and was like, I am sore in places that I didn't even know I had muscles in. I felt completely different. I switched my fastball grip and my curveball grip. I've thrown it the same way for however many years I played baseball. I had to put my fastball deeper into my hand and grip it way harder. And I had to, instead of holding my curveball at the tip of my fingers, I had to dig it deeper into my hand. So I'm choking the shit out of all my pitches. My cue I used to use with Snyder was hold the ball like an egg, nice and loose, be loose. That's out of the window. So I now have to develop a new cue. I have to develop something where I can't hold the ball light anymore. I have to dig it deep into my hand. So I'm taking it, and you have to think, I'm not a doctor. I know you guys probably know that. But I'm taking a fastball. I'm squeezing the ball twice as hard. So all of this is I'm recruiting all these muscles, and I'm taking my arm as hard as I can, throwing.
Okay, so that was Tyler Glasnow. Booney, we've got to take a quick break because I don't want to. I want to give you the podium and let you go at it. He had some very interesting stuff to say. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue with the All-Star second baseman, former All-Star second baseman, Bret Boone. He has many thoughts on this controversy now with the pitchers and the sticky stuff. We'll get into that. And yes, Uncle Arnie's in town. We're going to talk about that as well. More to come. Chico Bormann Show with Bret Boone right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back here on the Big Play Sports Network, Chico Bormann Show. And as always, during the baseball season, very, very happy to be joined by Bret Boone, former All-Star second baseman, host of the Bret Boone podcast. Booney, before the break, we heard Tyler Glasnow talking about, no doubt, the lack of, or the rules now being changed where they can't use the sticky stuff. No doubt has one of the things that I thought was very alarm bells went off is he said, I was sore in areas that I've never been sore before because he's gripping the hell out of the baseball. But just in general, your initial thoughts hearing Tyler Glasnow talk about that.
I think he's got possibly some valid points. I mean, it's funny to hear me listen to a pitcher talk about, well, I've been cheating my whole life and all of a sudden I can't cheat. That is clear. You're not allowed to use sticky stuff. Now, we've always known pitchers use substances. I've helped teammates of mine with the substance, get it to because they're on my team. When they're on my team, I'll help you do whatever you want.
If the unit told you to mix something together, you mixed it together. You went in the laboratory.
Well, it's not. No, it's not necessarily that. It's, my experience in that was more of, if we can get a scuff ball to me, get a scuff ball to me. But then as a pitcher, if you get a scuff ball, you got to have the wherewithal to know what to do with that scuff ball.
Yes.
So in the wrong hands, the scuff is irrelevant. But I was always on board for, hey, whatever I can do to help you out, get you have a successful outing here and help my team win. I was in. And that's very common, actually. Okay. I'll take his argument as it's a possibility. Chico, I've talked to so many people. I've talked to teammates, pitchers that were teammates of mine for years, who I ask, what are your thoughts about it? So here's what I've come up with. I had a buddy of mine, a former teammate, say, it's the weighted ball that the guys are using now. Okay. He said, we had the weighted ball, but we didn't train with it like they do. They actually throw it with some velocity. That was one guy's take. Another one was the sticky. And now I've heard Glasnow expand on that. It's the sticky. Pitch clock. Most of the pitchers that I talk to dismiss the pitch clock as being a problem, the time to recover in between pitches. Here's what I think it is. After all this, I think it's a combination. I think the young players today and how they're brought up, how they're introduced to the game, how the parents navigate them through their childhood and sports. I think there's an emphasis put on playing one sport. And for example, you're 10, you're 11 years old. There's rules in place for young kids, and should be. You can only throw X amount of pitches. If you exceed those pitches, you can't pitch for another 4 days. Problem is, it's Saturday. Little Joey throws 60 pitches. He's done. He can't pitch until Wednesday or Thursday. Problem is, parents of Joey take him to Team B on Sunday, and he's throwing again. Year-round playing baseball. When we were kids, we played baseball, we played football, we played basketball. We don't do that like we used to. And if you're a pitcher, it gives you a rest. You're not used to doing that. I think what we're seeing at the big league level now is this coming full circle. It's finally showing itself at the big league level. We've been doing it for years. Guys been training for years, going to travel ball teams, 3 different teams, shuffling in and out of them. And I think finally you're seeing it come to fruition at the big league level. I've listened to doctors talk about it and says, well, 15, 20 years ago, all the Tommy John surgeries, the majority of them were done on Major League Baseball pitchers.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it creeped in. It was Major League pitchers and minor league pitchers. Now, a vast amount of the surgeries are done on amateur and young players, way more so than professional baseball. So that tells me it started at the young level, and all of a sudden it's finally taken its turn where it's come. I think that, and a combination of, and I read this from Pedro Martinez, and I thought it was very astute. He said at the minor leagues nowadays, they really baby these kids and really keep strict pitch counts. I think the first time we saw that was a young Strasburg with the Washington Nationals, and they said, oh, we might keep him out of the postseason. This is a big league grown man making millions of dollars. Oh, we're going to really take it easy on him. I think we saw that years ago. But I think at the minor league level, and Pedro made a good point, he said they baby these kids. They put them on pitch, that they just baby. All of a sudden they get to the big leagues, and we got to win a game, and it's max velocity, max everything. And he said that training in the minor leagues didn't get them ready for the big leagues and max. So I think it's a combo of all these things. I mean, I made a list. You got Cole out. Verlander starting the season out. Scherzer. Bieber. Strider. Pivetta. Valdez. A couple big-time closers. Hendricks. Bautista. Giolito. Alcantara. Gonsolin. And these are all like name guys.
Right.
These are guys that everybody knows. And that list I just named, there's 7 or 8 number one bona fide starters
Yep.
that are on the shelf. That's not just in general of what about all the middle relievers and the not so recognizable names. I mean, something's got to be done. I mean, we're in an era where we have max data, we have all the information, we have as much at our fingertips as possible. Guys train year round. These athletes today are superior to when I broke into the game. Absolutely. Their diet, they're health conscious. They're machines. Yet everybody gets hurt. Everybody gets hurt consistently. There's got to be something we're doing that isn't right. For me, like I said, my thought, and after all the data I've gathered, all the people I've listened to, I've talked to my ex-trainer with the Seattle Mariners, Rick Griffin, who's a big league trainer for 35 years. He's in agreement the way these kids are brought up. He also has some thoughts about how guys today, what they do in between starts, flat ground versus mound. So there's a lot of theories. I just think it comes down to what kids are doing when they're 10, 11, 12 years old, I think comes to fruition 10 years later. In the minor league, we got to quit babying these guys and keeping them on 40 pitch limits. That's my conclusion. Take it for what it's worth.
No. I absolutely. First of all, to go back to your original statement, and I think you're right on, and I think I said this as well early on, that it's not just going to be one thing. We're not just going to say, oh, you know what it is? The pitch clock. All right. It's going to be a bunch of things. But the one thing that stood out to me, I want to go back to Glasnow's comments, because even before Glasnow said that, this was like the first week of the season. And I was reading, I think it was Eno Saris, writes for The Athletic and covers baseball. And he's, talks a lot, writes a lot about pitching. And what I would love to know is, okay, so let's say a guy like Pedro didn't need any substances, but okay, so he used something sticky. But was he constantly like gripping the living hell out of the ball? Because like you hear certain guys say, yeah, I heard from, an old timer who was pretty good back in his day. And he said, yeah, there were certain pitches we gripped the hell out of it on, but a lot of times we held it like an egg. Well, I mean, if you're trying to throw max velocity, which all these guys are, and before you even release that pitch, you've engaged every freaking muscle in your forearm, your shoulder, to me, it makes sense that you're bound to screw up your arm. I mean, for lack of a better word.
No, and that's why with the Glasnow comments, I won't just dismiss them out of hand. There could be that could be very viable. It could be one of the many reasons. I mean, for me, I really have nothing to compare it to from a baseball side. If I had to compare it to something, it would be like, okay, all of a sudden they banned batting gloves. Oh my gosh. For me, if I couldn't have batting gloves, seriously, because I had clammy hands, always have. I use 2 gloves when I golf. If you tell me I have to take the top glove off, it's like I'm in a little bit of a panic that I'm going to lose the club when I swing. I mean, I watch guys golf just all natural, no golf glove, and just rip it. And I'm in amazement. Like, how can you do that? The club would come flying out of my hand. I'd be all worried about it. And when you don't have a good grip, and all I can, for reference, I mean, not being able to hit with batting gloves, I'd have to retire. I really would. I couldn't play the game without batting. Now, maybe back in the day, if I've never worn a batting glove, it would be a different. But when you come up with it, and that's the way you play, you can't do it. Think of this. And I've always thought about this, but I don't want to be a tool. Well, so if I offend anybody out there, I'm sorry.
Oh.
But I go to the gym all the time. I've been weight training for years and years and years. But I refuse to wear gloves. Now, logic says if I had gloves on, I could definitely push and move more weight. I get a better grip. I have clammy hands as it is. If I've got gloves doing on the pull-up bar, I'm definitely going to be able to rep out more pull-ups. So why don't I wear gloves? Well, because I don't want to be a tool.
You look like a dork. Yeah, you look like a dork at the gym.
I think so.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
Doesn't mean you are. Sorry, Mark Wahlberg. He does wear gloves all the time on his Instagram, but I just can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. And I don't know. That's just another thought I'm thinking. And I know I'm making light of and being funny about it, but really there's some truth to it.
Yeah.
You take away a grip, our muscles act differently, our bodies act differently. They move in a different way to compensate for lack of grip, if that makes any sense.
No, I think they're all excellent points. I'll close with this because we want to move on and get to Uncle Arnie being in town with the Yanks and the Guards this weekend. But you mentioned an analogy. I guess my analogy will be, and this is me wondering what the response will be from MLB, and to go over to football for a second, okay? We talk about, they baby the quarterbacks, right? Those are the prima donnas, and you so much as used to breathe on Tom Brady when he's playing, or any Patrick Mahomes. You're going to get, I almost feel like, because think about it. Booney, you said it yourself. Those names, Strider, Valdez, Bieber, Garrett Cole.
These aren't fourth and fifth starters.
Right. And these are guys getting paid a lot of money, and that the fans want to see. Are they going to take an approach of, you know what? Yeah, we want to speed up the game, and yeah, we want to make things better, but we also have to protect these guys. And if to protect these guys from, serious injury, we need to scale back a little bit on what our rules are as far as the sticky stuff, then so be it. We'll do that. Again, that's just my personal. Is that going to?
Well, I don't think you scale back. I mean, if you scale back, the bottom, then it's
Pandora's box, and they
do anything you want.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, no, we want it for safety. Yeah,
but don't you think Manfred at some point, or Major League Baseball, is going to say, well, yeah, so I guess the solution is they just have to get used to it. Like Glasnow, hey, or Bieber or Cole, you guys can't grip if you really still want to continue to grip the hell out of the baseball on every pitch, that's up to you, but you're facing the consequences. In other words, they're not going to do anything to help them.
Because position players aren't going to be okay with that. Hitters aren't going to be okay with that.
Right.
Wait a minute. You can give him the best grip possible so he can rip off that little bit nastier than nasty slider.
Yeah.
I'm not game to that. What are you going to give me as a hitter? What can I do? You going to give me an aluminum bat? The hitters aren't going to be okay.
Black
with that.
Magic Easton.
Use whatever you want. And I the thing about it is I just don't have a reference point because I never pitched at a high level.
Sure.
I pitched in Little League like every other kid. But I never pitched at a high level. All my interactions with a baseball and a big league baseball are turning a double play, relay throw, routine ground ball to second base. Now, I never had a problem with the grip. The grip was always, they were never slick. It was easy for me. I never complained and went to my shortstop and said, hey, are you having trouble with these balls that are put in play? They're slippery. Never one time. However, as a pitcher, this is what your livelihood is. This is what you do for a living. This is what you're an expert at, is hitting spots, throwing different pitches from different angles. So there's going to be a little more scrutiny when it comes to, hey, this ball needs to be a certain way because this is what I do. I throw a ball for a living. I turn a double play. That's not what I do for a living. That's a part of my living. But when my main thing is throwing a ball, yes, they're going to be a little more sensitive to the nuances of the baseball. Whereas a position player, we just get it and throw it. We don't think about it. It's like, no, I don't need to throw a break a ball, two-seamer, cutter. I just need to get this ball and throw a strike to my first baseman to turn this double play. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt when there's a little bit more scrutiny from their perspective when it comes to the actual surface of the baseball.
All right, we're going to close the book on this subject for now.
Please.
Yes. We will take a break. When we come back, kids, you don't want to miss this. Uncle Arnie visits Cleveland. Usually we have to wait a couple of months. Uncle Arnie making an early visit. I looked to see, usually the Yankees, last year the Yankees charter was outside at Burke where we have our studios. I don't know if now they're too good for us, but I didn't see the charter out there. Maybe they haven't arrived yet. Maybe they're carpooling. We don't know. But the Yankees are in town.
Chico,
Yes,
league teams never get there the day of a game.
I know.
It's always the night before. Come on.
It was a joke. It was sarcasm. Come on, Booney.
We got a lot of jokes going today. I don't know. I can't keep up. Bohm, can you?
Barely.
You guys done?
What do we got, Bohm? You watching the Masters? Give me the details.
Going to break, Booney. Booney strikes up another conversation. Go ahead, Bohm. What do you got?
Bohm, you got anything on the Masters? You a golf guy?
I love playing more than watching, to be honest.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm in that same genre.
Good. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we go to break, Booney? I don't want to get in the way of this conversation.
No, go ahead.
We're good? All right, we'll take a break. We come back. Uncle Arnie and the Yankees off to a great start. Guardians off to a great start. They're in town. We'll talk about it with Uncle Arnie's older brother, Bret. Mav, they called him growing up, I think, something like that. We'll talk to the all-star second baseman about that and much more when we come back on the Chico Bormann Show right here on the Big Play Sports Network. That was well done. Well done. All righty, welcome back. So after we poured over the reasons, the possible reasons, and what the solutions could be to healing these elbows, so guys like Garrett Cole and Shane Bieber, who, by the way, neither available for this series, the Yankees and the Guardians, and Shane Bieber's not going to be available for any series this year. Garrett Cole, they're still waiting to see. We poured over all of that. We may touch on it a little bit later on, but let's get to on the field. And Booney, while it is very, very early, we can only go on the sample size we have. Hey, it's always great to get off to a great start as opposed to a rough start. Uncle Arnie and the Yanks are 10-3. The Guards are 9-3. And let me ask you, I'll start with this. The reason you feel like the Yanks are, winners of 10 of 13 to start the year is what, if you had to put your finger on it?
The starting rotation's giving them a chance to win and giving them a chance, keeping them in the game.
Okay.
And these guys are just playing well.
Yeah.
Soto's been a big boost to that lineup, obviously, and he started off on fire. Volpe started off great.
He's been outstanding. That might be the biggest key.
He's going to be a really good player for a lot of years. Stanton looks pretty good.
We know he's going to, speaking of injuries, we know he's peanut brittle. He's going to break apart at some point. So at least while he's healthy,
I mean, for Aaron's sake,
again.
And the Yankees' sake, I hold my breath on that.
Right.
Cabrera's come out of the chute after having a rough spring.
Yeah.
Borderline making the team. He's been a big spark plug for him. I think the resurgence of Rodon's been outstanding. A year ago signed with the Yankees for $150 million plus, and really was a disappointment a year ago. He missed 2 months with an injury, but when he came back, he had a 6.7 ERA. He's got a sub-2 right now. Nestor Cortez had a rough outing, really came back his last outing and was great. Stroman didn't give up a run till his third start. Controversial pitcher, has a lot to say, but I'll tell you, he's got a chip.
Him.
He pitches with a chip on his shoulder.
He does.
Seems like he's got to prove himself every year. I'll tell you what, he's fitting really good in that rotation. The whole thing for me when Cole goes down, I think Cole, and not to negate Bieber's importance to the Guardians.
Sure.
But I think if you're talking I think Aaron Judge is the most important player to his team in all of Major League Baseball. When he's out, they're a different team. When he's there, I think he's the difference maker.
Yeah.
I think that's true for the pitching staff too. I think Garrett Cole is more important to the Yankees when he's in there than any pitcher is to their team, if that makes sense. That's what I think. So when Garrett Cole went down and we were talking about it's going to be 6 weeks, it's going to be 8 weeks, my initial reaction was these guys are in trouble because now you got Nestor Cortez as your opening day starter. Now, nothing against Nestor, but you go from Cole to Nestor, and it's like it's a little bit of a different setup, the rotation.
Yeah.
There were question marks all the way through. Rodon, how's he going to be? Now, all of a sudden, Schmidt bumps up, and he's the number 3 or number 4 starter instead of being that nice number 5. So I had a lot of questions going into the season as how will this rotation hold up without their anchor at the top of the rotation? So far, I think they've answered it. Best record in baseball, 10-3 to start. Everybody's healthy in the lineup. Judge is off to a real slow start, but he'll get it going.
Oh, yeah.
The key for me in that lineup, I love the lineup. Obviously, Soto, I think, is going to have an MVP caliber year. He's in a perfect situation. He's out of San Diego, where I think a lot of those young superstars were butting heads in San Diego. He's in a locker room now in New York, where Judge and Stanton are kind of the elder statesmen, and Soto's just there to be one of the guys. I think he's going to have a huge year. As long as Judge stays healthy, he's going to be Judge. The positive thing for me is seeing Stanton and swinging the bat pretty good.
Yeah.
Volpe's off to a great start. I think Verdugo is going to be a huge part of that team. Torres is going to be fine. Rizzo, we'll see. Rizzo's getting to that age. I know he's been a huge part of the Yankees' success the last 3 years, and as a clubhouse guy, but he's getting to that age where I've been at that age. When you start to slow down a little bit, game gets a little quicker. We'll see. So far, he's doing okay. He's hanging, close to 250. But for me, the key to that lineup with all those aforementioned players is Stanton being a viable threat in the middle of that lineup.
Sure.
Not necessarily saying Stanton's got to hit 30 or 40 home runs. He's got to be a viable threat in the middle, a presence in the middle of that lineup. And if that's the case this year, that's going to allow Judge and Soto, the 2 main stars, to just thrive and have monster MVP years.
Okay, so let me go back to, and certainly what you said about Cole rings true. Obviously, people here in Cleveland were looking, and it's not to say that Bieber's Cole, he's not, but Bieber bouncing back.
Oh, I was excited for the Guardians.
Right, those first 2 starts, and you thought, oh man,
didn't give up a run.
Right, and if he can get back to that level and stay healthy, which obviously we know now is not the case. I just thought, man, you've got to, because you already have one of your young studs that they really like a lot in Gavin Williams. Who knows? He might be looking at one of the. But so it was like if Bieber can step up and be that guy, you take the pressure off Tanner Bybee having to do it again. Tristan McKenzie, you talked about it last week. It's going to be a little while. He's going to have some. He's going to have to have some ramp up time. Logan L. It just, you needed that guy at the top, and they don't have it. But that's, you look at the positive side of things, and I'll go to the offense as well. Well, 2 things. As far as the offense, and you said this to begin the season, we were talking about a preview. You said, they need to get back to what they were 2 years ago when Stephen Kwan was, getting on base. That guy has, I think 4 3-hit games already. He's batting close to 400. That'll go down, but he looks like the Stephen Kwan from 2 years ago. Andres Jimenez looks like the guy from 2 years ago. Now you're setting the table. You're moving guys over. And then the other thing that I will say is, and this is, every team can say it. And I think Bowden, I've heard Jim Bowden say it. You've probably heard it hundreds of times, that bullpen, even if you think you know who you have going into a year, it's always, GMs are always worried about the bullpen, as they should be. So you look at the Guardians bullpen, you're like, well, Trevor Steffen's out for the year. Karinchak, who knows what's going on between his ears. In steps Hunter Gaddis and Cade Smith, who have been outstanding. But to get back to the offense for a second, I agree with that's really where it's at. This has a feel of the Guardians from 2 years ago, and that absolutely has to be the case if they're going to be in contention this year.
Yeah, for me, the beginning of the season, a lot of surprises. Okay, the New York Yankees at full strength. Yeah, we know on runs they can go on. For them to start 10-3, I got to be honest with you, it shocked me. The Guardians, I knew with that starting rotation, were very capable of starting well. For them to start off 9-3, I'm a bit shocked by that, especially with your big guy Bieber going down. He did get 2 starts in for you. Look at the Kansas City Royals.
They won 7 in a row.
If you tell me you're not shocked by that, well, I'll tell you, you're not a baseball man that does his homework. Detroit 7-4. This is supposed to be the weak division, the Central, right? We got Detroit 7-4 in third place. That's leading some of the divisions now that we say are the best divisions. So, very surprising start all around. I look at this Cleveland team. You mentioned it, the key. If Gavin Williams is still available, the Bieber hit isn't as harsh.
Yeah.
But with Gavin being out, now Bieber being out, it really puts a lot on Logan Allen. Bybee. McKenzie's really got to get back to McKenzie form of 2 years ago. That bullpen, it's a pretty darn good bullpen. A lot of guys sitting out in that bullpen haven't given up a run yet. And that's the a big part of your early success for Cleveland. I still look at the division. We said it before. We thought the Twins were the class of this division. They're 4-6 out of the gate. The Twins do have, I think, sneaky starting pitching that in the long run will end up being viable and allow them to possibly win this division. But Cleveland, man, they're off to a good start. Ramirez, your consummate star year in and year out.
Yep.
He's starting off decent for him. He's going to be what he always is.
Right.
Jimenez, that's a key. He's off to a really good start. You're right. Josh Naylor. Naylor's always been a player for me. A couple of years ago, remember he had the big home run and the controversial. Was it? I forget who the pitcher was, but remember he did that controversial thing around the base. That wasn't. That didn't make me a fan of his, but I've been slowly watching him. He's getting better.
I think it might have been Nestor. Now that I think about it, I think it might have been Nestor Cortez. I think it was.
Or no, it might have been. Was it Cole or not? It doesn't.
No,
matter.
it was. You're right. It was Cole. It was Garrett Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I'm watching him. He's becoming like a really good player.
And his younger brother, Bo. How about on
Bo.
Siblings Day, no less?
Yes.
They go yard. They deliver an extra. Did you and Uncle Arnie ever have a day like that on Siblings Day? I didn't even know.
I don't think we had Siblings Day.
Yeah, I don't. I agree with you. I don't.
We didn't just make up random days.
When did I remember being in college and there was a calendar that would be out, but it was
there a friend day? Maybe we should have a friend day.
Yeah,
Chico, maybe me and you could do a show on the same day. Podcast day.
It's National.
Let's just pick a
Boston
day. Everybody
Cream
needs a day.
Donut Day. Make sure you get your Boston Cream Donuts on Boston Cream Donut Day.
Everybody needs a day, just so everybody could just wake up and smile and say it's my day. Come on. Rub some dirt on it. Let's go.
Booney, we are out of time, but we appreciate it. As always, it just really, really brought it strong today. Despite the fact that we know that you were,
I need a day.
A little bit tired coming out of the rain.
I need a Boone day.
Oh, by the way, give me who is it? Scotty Scheffler? Who you going with for your Masters pick?
Oh man, it's so tough to look past Scheffler. He's just so good.
Yeah, he's on another level right now.
He's really ridiculous. Man, Bryson DeChambeau, leading the tournament at 7 under yesterday.
Think he wears weight room gloves? You think he wears gloves in the weight room? He's a big boy.
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, he probably.
I'll tell you.
He's
gone from a guy that at the beginning I was like, who is this knucklehead? I kind of enjoy him. I enjoy watching him. He's just taken golf to a scientific level. I had the beef with Brooks.
I want to see him in Koepka.
I kind of like
DeChambeau.
He hasn't changed. He kind of makes fun of himself. I watch him on social media a little bit. He's just a goofball, but he's also self-deprecating.
Yeah.
And he steps up and he's leading the tournament after one round. Long way to go with the Masters, obviously.
Yep.
But I don't know. He's kind of turned me. So I kind of like Bryson. And 2 years ago, he was one of my least favorite. I kind of like him now. It's going to be interesting. In my little mini pool with my buddies, we just have a thing where we pick somebody. Has to be evenly matched with.
Hang on a second. Boom. What if Booney and I have the same guy? Boom, you all right? You're falling asleep over there. Did you have a rough night? Everything good? All right.
We don't have the same guy. Who you got?
Will Zalatoris.
No, I like him though.
Yeah,
he's a good player. Scheffler is who I have, and it's not to win the tournament. It's just a matchup.
Schauffele.
It's a matchup with my buddy who's getting his butt kicked because he's got Spieth, who just made a 9 on a par 5.
You know who else is falling apart? They're saying DJ's imploding. Dustin Johnson.
DJ's +6.
Yeah.
Tiger's he's moving it around. He's moving it around.
I love Tiger's answer.
The only thing I love watching Tiger, I just hate listening to the commentary around it because we always have to talk about, is he walking a little gingerly? Who cares? Let him play.
Of course he is.
Leave it alone.
The guy's had 48 surgeries. Yeah. Anyway, Booney, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy what I'm sure is sunny weather out in San Diego. It's yucky here. It's like 48 degrees, rain and wind. It's going to be a fun weekend with Uncle Arnie in town. I'll be sure to tell him that you said hello.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Booney.
See you, Boom.
All right, we'll take one final break, wrap this thing up. Mike Chico Bormann Show, more to come. Wrapping up a lot of what Booney had to say, not only the Glasnow comments, but also the Guards and the Yanks this weekend. We'll do all of that when we return right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, wrapping it up. It's always fun talking to Bret Boone, the former All-Star second baseman. He's got the podcast as well. I forgot to ask him what he's got coming up. I guarantee it's going to be entertaining, the Bret Boone podcast. But Booney had lots of thoughts on the Glasnow comments. One thing we do agree on is that there are many factors to this, these injuries, the spike in injuries, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think, how they're developed. I think now, you take away the sticky stuff, they're gripping the hell out of the ball, yet still gripping the hell out of the ball. And also, max velo, it's going to be tough. And it sucks when it's one of your guys because, again, Shane Bieber was off to an unbelievable start. And he thought, man, if you can get that, and just as soon as that thought entered your head, obviously the injury news came down, and you feel terrible for him too. I mean, he works hard. He's a great teammate, free agency, all that stuff. And I know, we're supposed to be thinking from a fan's point of view, but you feel bad for him in that regard. Should be a fun weekend. Guardians and Yankees in town. Both teams playing very, very well. So looking forward to that, and we'll see how the Guards end up after the weekend series against the Bronx Bombers. We will do this again next week, talking some more baseball with Bret Boone. I don't know if it's his pick. It's the guy Xander Schauffele. Xander. Will that be the guy? Will it be Will Zalatoris, or will it be probably Scotty Scheffler? I think it's going to be Scotty Scheffler winning that green jacket at the Masters. But we'll talk about it next week right here on the Chico Bormann Show. And thank you to everyone for tuning in and checking us out on YouTube, checking us out on Twitter at Chico Show CLE. And, of course, most importantly, last but certainly never least, thanks to Michael Bohm producing. I'm Mike Chico Bormann. For all of us here at Big Play Sports, make it a great week, everybody. See ya.